Hi everybody and welcome to Mindset Learn Extra Exam Revision, the place where you can get the study tips you need to succeed in your exams. Now today we're going to be taking a look at the Physical Sciences Paper 1 and what you can expect from this exam paper. And we're very fortunate today to be joined by Thabiso from the Gauteng Department of Education. Hi Thabiso and welcome.
Good morning, Dylan.
Let's dive straight in. What topics are examined in Physical Sciences Paper 1?
Well, basically, the following knowledge areas would be examinable, okay? Mechanics, wave, sound and light, electricity and magnetism, and there's a little bit that would come from matter and material, okay? By mechanics, in mechanics, then there will be the following topics that will be examinable, all right? Projectile motions, okay? Then there's a little bit that comes from grade 11, which is linear momentum.
Okay, so learners mustn't forget to revise their grade 11 work as well.
Yeah, it's very important. And in grade 12, then it's important for them to look into impulse, okay? And the next topic would be work, power, and energy, all right? And that basically, you know, that's the topics that would be examinable in mechanics, okay? In wave, sound, and light, it's important for them to look into diffraction and also to look into the Doppler effect, okay? And in electricity and magnetism, there is also topics coming from grade 11, which they must also look at for revision.
Which topics are those?
There's electrical circuits, okay, and Ohm's law, which is taught in grade 11. There is Coulomb's law, electrostatics, which is taught in grade 11 as well. Okay, so they must revise those. Then in grade 12 would be the generators and motors, which is very important also for them to look into those. Okay, then from matter and material, it's the photoelectric effect. They must look into that as well, because sometimes learners think matter and material is chemistry, but that little portion is examinable in physical science in paper 1. Yes.
And then how are the marks allocated to each of those broad knowledge areas?
Okay. If we look at mechanics, mechanics is roughly 33%, plus or minus 33%, okay? Wave, sound, and light is about 20% of the 150. The little that comes from matter and material will be about 10%, okay? But then electricity and magnetism is about 37%.
So that's the biggest allocation in the exam.
Yeah, so electricity and magnetism, 37%, and mechanics, 33%. So the two sections or the two knowledge areas gives you about roughly 70%.
Right, well, tell us a little bit about the structure of the paper. Are there short questions, multiple choice questions, long questions? What can learners expect when they get there?
Paper 1 is divided into two sections. There's section A and section B. Okay. In section A is where you find the multiple choice type questions and the one word item. We refer to them as one word item, but basically learners will be given a statement or a phrase and they must provide a word that describes that statement. For an example, they might be given Coulomb's law. Okay, then they must just write on the paper Coulomb's law. Okay, so they will get about 5 of those, 1 mark each, which then means one word answers would be 5 marks. Then for 20 marks, it would be the multiple choice questions, 2 marks each. There will be 10 of those. Each set will have about will have 4 options, possible answers, and learners must pick one appropriate, correct answer. Okay, most of the time, in the 4 options that are provided, 2 of those are totally wrong. Okay,
so they're clearly wrong.
They're clearly wrong. So they can eliminate quickly the 2 that are clearly wrong, and then see between the two which are very close to each other, which one is most correct. Okay. So section A will be for 25 marks,
right.
20 marks in multiple choice, 5 marks in the one-weight item. Then 125 marks comes now into section B of the paper, which are more structured questions. By structured questions, I mean the long questions. Okay. In the structured questions, they can be asked to state principles, they can be asked to state laws. It's where they have to apply their skills, like calculation, the use of formulae.
How important is it for learners to know their formulae by heart?
Well, it is important, but the papers usually comes with a data sheet at the back.
Okay.
And in the data sheet, there's all the formulas that are required for them to use to answer the paper.
Yeah.
So what is important for them to know is, for an example, when they read a particular question, now in the structured question, they must have an ability to identify or establish where the question belongs, to which knowledge area or to which topic belongs. If they can establish that this question belongs to projectile motion, mechanics, then it's easy, because then they can go to the data sheet and try and find formulas that they can use to solve problems relating to projectile motion.
Okay.
If they read a question and then they can establish that this question is electricity and magnetism, they can always go to the data sheet. Okay. And then there will be questions, formulas also for solving electricity and magnetism. Right. So in the formula sheet, the questions, the formulas are also packed and arranged according to the topics as well. Well, so it's not like, they all mixed.
Right, right. Okay. So the paper is out of 150 marks, right?
Yes.
And how long do learners get to write this paper?
It's 3 hours.
Okay, so it's about 180 minutes for 150 marks. Yeah. Roughly a minute a mark?
Yeah, roughly. What I would advise learners to do is, on the day of the exam, it's important for them to arrive early, because usually they are provided with 15 minutes to go through the paper.
Before they start writing?
Before they start the exam. So what it means is a learner can then able to determine the sections or the questions that he or she can immediately attempt with ease. Okay. In physical science, they are allowed to start with any questions as long as they write a complete question. For example, they can start with question 8, but they must write and complete that question 8. Okay. Then they can immediately go and attempt question 10. Right. Then they must answer the whole question 10 on the same page. Okay. So the order of questions is not important. Okay. So within that 15 minutes, the learner can able to look quickly through the paper and decide where she or he wants to start.
So obviously starting with the questions that you feel comfortable with or confident about,
yes,
kind of just sets you up for the rest of the paper, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's excellent. That's excellent. Then tell us a little bit about what your advice to learners would be as they prepare to write Physical Sciences Paper 1. How should they be studying?
Assuming that the work schedule has been completed by the educators in schools, okay, it would be important for the learners to put together for themselves a checklist. All right. Okay. By checklist, I mean they write all the topics that will be examinable, as we have mentioned them. All right. Then they put dates, sort of a timetable. If they start on a particular day with projectile motion, and then they just study that until if they feel comfortable that they can work through that. And every day, if they take a topic, but obviously one has to be mindful of the day when the exam will be written, because then you must start working before the day comes. Okay. And if they work through the problems and they meet challenges, it would be important then to consult with their teachers for them to start helping. And again, it's easy usually in physical sciences, because answers are provided. If you look into your textbook, you'll find that answers are provided. So if they work on themselves and they are able to get the same answer as in the book, then that gives them confidence that they're able to work on that. But if they persistently getting wrong answers, then that will be the sign that says, no, I don't understand this work. So it's better consult the teacher so that they help you. Okay. The other thing that I want to mention quickly is it is important to have enough rest. Okay. I know sometimes learners tend to study even, to the early hours in the morning. That's, in my opinion, that's not good enough. All right.
How important in learners' preparation are past exam papers?
Past exam papers gives them an idea of how questions are asked. For an example, in physical science, we have what we say, we don't compartmentalize knowledge, all right? You will find that it's a question that relates to projectile motion as an example, but you would find within the question, there would be something that relates to energy. Okay, depending how the question has been asked. So sometimes learners tend to focus on projectile motion as a question. But then once they use exam papers, they get a feel that sometimes certain questions integrate with other topics. Okay. So that gives them a feel, at least, what to expect on an exam. Yeah. And another thing is, if they use previous question papers and they look at the memo, that also guides them to say what is the examiner looking and how they allocate marks. For an example, it's very important for starting with a formula. All right. Sometimes learners would start with a formula where they change the subject of the formula, but you see that doesn't get marks. And when they make mistakes in that formula, then they get wrong the whole question. So it's very important to start with the formula that is provided in the data sheet, so that when you start manipulating that formula, changing the subject of the formula, at least you started with the right formula. You can then get marks for substitution. Substituting the values correctly, even when that formula is wrong. Obviously,
so if you've manipulated the formula incorrectly, you still get credit for the work that comes after.
Yes, for substitution. But if you don't start with the correct formula that is given in the data sheet, and then while manipulating the formula, you make mistakes, now you don't get anything. You see. So in physical sciences, it's easy to pass because it's not about the final answer. It's about all the steps that you put into your work.
Now tell us, what kind of stationery should learners take with them into the exam?
It's very important. In paper one, we use a calculator, all right? Sometimes learners would, in the morning, pick any calculator and come to an exam room to find that the batteries are flat. So they must make sure that it's a calculator that they are comfortable to use, the calculator that they have been using, because sometimes if you borrow a calculator quickly and you haven't learned
you're not familiar with how it works.
Yes. It tends to become a problem also. So a calculator is very important. A blue pen is they can sometimes bring more than one pen, because in the middle of the exam, then the pen starts getting nervous. The pen can't get nervous, but it starts, not to write properly. So at least you've got another one. A ruler, a pencil, it's very important. Remember, they're not allowed to use Tipex or any kind of that eraser.
So if they make a mistake,
just cross it out and start all over again.
Well, thank you very much for your time and all of your insights.
Good.
I hope that's been really useful for you, all of you, and wishing you all the best of luck in Physical Sciences Paper 1. Until next time, bye-bye.